Hey guys, welcome to Mr. Smith's Kitchen. Brian, kitchen. Yeah, pretty much self-explanatory, right? As always. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Glad you stopped by. Hope you get something out of my videos. And if you like this video, check out some of my others. I got a lot of them. Well over 200 at any rate. And if you're returning to my channel, thank you. I appreciate it. I never take your guys' time for granted, and I'm glad you're getting something out of my content. If you are new, we do a lot of things food, all aspects of food. We cook, we bake, we garden. Occasionally we'll build things relative to the garden or the kitchen. There's always something going on. You know, it started out as a documentary of me and my family, and it still is, but we do it through food. So don't forget to subscribe. I think it's down here. It's probably over here, but I think it's down here. And right next to it's the notification bell. That way you know when my videos come out. Usually on Wednesdays and Thursdays, but family of 4 in-house, 6 total. Full-time job and running a small shop out of my house. Usually, you know, things can happen, and I may miss a video here or there, but I haven't yet. So that being said, today, thumbs up, thumbs down. Great for 2 forms. A, lets me know how I'm doing. Like the video, hate the video. You know, either way, comment. That way I know, you know, hey, what can I improve on? Or if you like the recipe, you didn't like the recipe. And it also, with the thumbs up, thumbs down, gets me into more feeds, which then grows our neighborhood, makes us bigger and stronger. And, you know, we can kind of see where we're headed. You know, the main purpose of this channel, other than food, is to be a good neighbor, you know, and things like that. So, that being said, today we're going to do a lemon meringue pie. This recipe, the lemon meringue pie in and of itself is 2 centuries old. I mean, it's old. And so it's been around for a minute. And it has, for all its simplicity, it does have some challenges. And we'll talk about them as we go. So let me get you down here to the stovetop, because we're not going to use a mixer right away to make the filling. We're making a pudding filling versus like a lemon curd filling. And that requires a stovetop. So let me get you down there, and we'll start talking about ingredients, tools you'll need to make the filling, things of that nature. All right, hold on for me 1 second. All right, we're down here to the stove. So things that you'll need, obviously a recipe would help. And as always, written it down in the notebook right here. And I'm sure we'll like this. This recipe came from Joya Baking, Stephanie Jaworski's channel and website. Get a chance to check her out. She has taught me pretty much everything I've ever needed to know about baking over the last 2 years. An amazing site, an amazing lady. Can't say enough about her. Definitely check out her site. And this recipe, I mean, you can vary a little bit, but I'm not going to at the moment. I want to try her recipe and see how it tastes. There are several out there, and they all have the same ingredients. Some things just vary a little. As far as tools you'll need a heavy bottom saucepan. We will eventually need well, we'll get to that when we come to it, but a metal bowl, because when we make the meringue, we're going to make a Swiss meringue, which is a lot more stable than a regular meringue. And we don't use raw egg, we cook it up. So, that being said, why don't we go ahead and get started. I will give you your ingredients and, oh, excuse me, cups or tablespoons, teaspoons, and grams both. Grams are important. Another thing you will need, and I don't know where it is off the moment, is preferably a scale. You don't have to have one, but man, I'm telling you, baking, they come in handy. Alright, so in our heavy bottom pot, I'm using a cast iron pot that's been coated in ceramic. That's actually probably an enamel versus ceramic. But to this heavy bottom pot, I'm going to add 1 cup, 200 grams of just regular, you know, plain old granulated sugar, kind you would put in your cereal. And then I'm going to also add 6 tablespoons, 50 grams of cornstarch to that, and we want to make sure we get it all out. Cornstarch, I don't know why, it just loves to stick to everything. Man, it you know, is absolutely amazing. So we got the sugar in there for the sweetness, And the cornstarch is actually what makes a pudding. It makes it form and harden up and all that good stuff. So we got that in there, and then we're going to add 1/4 teaspoon of salt. That's 1 gram. I'm using kosher salt. If you don't have kosher salt, you can use table salt, because we're just adding it to bring out the flavors. We're not making a salty dish by any means. And then we're going to whisk this up, give it a good head start, right? And that way we're going. Now our heat's not on yet. Got that going, and then we are going to add to this. Let me go get it real quick. A 1.5 cups of hot water, which is 360 milliliters, 360 grams. And what we're going to do is we're just going to pour this in a little bit at a time to get it started, right? That way we can get it whisked up like such. You don't have to use, this is boiling water. I microwaved it for 3 minutes, so it's super hot. You can just use hot tap water, or even room temperature water, depending on who you talk to. But hot water gets things dissolving faster. It makes it, you want that cornstarch to dissolve and start to activate. You want the sugar to dissolve completely. And then we'll go ahead and turn our burner on about medium. And we're going to constantly whisk this, or stir it if you don't have a whisk, but you should have a whisk, until it starts to thicken up, starts to turn clear, and starts to bubble. Just like a nice low bubble. It'll be like a plop plop bubble, not like if you were boiling water. And it would just start bubbling a little bit. This, because it'll thicken up, will look like lava bubbling. So we'll go ahead and get this done, and then we'll move on to the next step, and I'll show you what translucent looks like. Okay, so our mixture is translucent, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but see how it's blipping, like a volcano would? That's what we're looking for. You want it to be translucent, thick, just like that. So we're going to go ahead and take it off the heat. We're not going to turn the heat off, but we are going to turn it down. And then we are going to take a whisk. Alright, we have 4 egg yolks here, just the yolks. But you want to save the whites when you separate them for the meringue. Okay? So we just want to blend those up real quick. And then we're going to take a spoon or something of some sort, measuring cup, whatever. And we're going to temper these eggs. Now, tempering means we're going to bring them up to temperature without cooking them. So we're just going to pour a little bit of this in there time, and you want to whisk constantly, like your life depends on it. And what it does is it brings the eggs up to temperature without curdling them or scrambling them, so to speak. So we got that in there, looking good. They're brought up to temperature. And now that we got those up to temp, we will put them in the main pot here. And when we put them in the main pot, once again, we're going to want to stir. We don't want it to curdle. We don't want those eggs to turn to scrambled eggs. So we'll go ahead, get that, start pouring that in there, start whisking like your life depends on it. Now, what happens if you do get some scrambled egg in there? It's okay. It's not the end of the world. All you have to do is grab a strainer, like we've used a dozen times, or a sifter, or something like that, to get the egg. You just pour your pudding batter, your custard batter through there, and the egg that's cooked will stay behind and leave you with a nice creamy sauce. But so far it looks like we got lucky. So now we turned our heat down from medium, just a hair above medium, down to a medium lowish, and we're gonna do the exact same thing. We're gonna cook these eggs, and so we're gonna bring this back up to a bubble. All right. So as soon as this gets back up to a bubble, we'll move on to the next step. Alright, so we're back to where we need to be. I got bubbles forming. I don't know if you can see any of them yet, but it's like lava, molten lava. And I don't know if I mentioned it before when I started stirring this, or when I put the eggs in here, but you want to make sure you're constantly stirring. This will burn, it'll cook uneven. You know, you want that constant stir. Okay, so now, next thing we're going to do is I'm going to put this in a separate bowl because I need this bowl for when we make the meringue. So we'll put this in a bowl just like such, because we're going to use it while it's hot. And then to this we're going to add a 1/4 cup of lemon juice, 2 tablespoons of butter, room temperature, and 1 tablespoon of lemon zest, if I can get the thingy off of it. Now the lemon juice I'm using is fresh squeezed. That's 120 milliliters, 120 grams. And the butter is 25 grams, 2 tablespoons. And the lemon zest is 2 lemons worth of zest. It said in the recipe that it was 4 grams, but I couldn't get my scale to read. Maybe my scale's just getting old. And we're going to mix this up, okay? Once we get this mixed up, we'll put a piece of saran wrap on it. Okay, we got her mixed up right there, looking good. We'll get some saran wrap out. I don't know if I mentioned it, but I absolutely love this saran wrap holder, or this machine. And we're going to put the saran wrap, or plastic wrap, on top of the filling. Okay, you don't want to just cover the top of this. Like, you know, most custard pies, what'll happen is, as this sits, it'll form a skin. By putting the plastic wrap down on top of it like that, it won't form a skin. Now, we're not gonna, with this recipe, we're not gonna let that cool. There are some recipes out there, I guess, that you let it cool completely. There's a lot of debate on how to make this pie. Which is why I've gone with a trusted source on how to make it to begin with. Okay, we'll get that set aside. Let me get cleaned up, get the camera moved, and then we'll make the meringue. Alright, I'll be right back. Alright, now that we got everything cleaned up and looking good, so to make the meringue's fairly easy. It does take a little paying attention to, but you're going to need a bowl, a whisk. I'm going to use my stand mixer, which is right there. I don't know if you can see it. Yep, right there. And you will need your heavy bottom pot, or a heavy bottom pot, because we're going to basically put this on a double boiler and bring it up to 160 degrees. We'll also need a candy thermometer of some sort. That way we can know when we bring it up to 160 degrees. So, first thing we're going to put into this, alright, we're going to put in our egg whites that we saved from the 4 egg yolks. We can put it in the filling. I'll put that in there. Alright. And then we are going to put in, which is about 120-ish grams. I mean, if you have leftover egg whites in your fridge, per se. I know some people do. Hey, sorry, got you sitting at an angle. And to that, we're going to add a 1/2 cup, 100 grams of sugar. Same old white granulated sugar we had before. 1/2 cup, 100 grams. 4 egg whites, 120 grams. And then we're going to add in a 1/2 teaspoon, 2 grams of cream of tartar. And what cream of tartar does is it stabilizes it. Won't let you overbeat it, things of that nature. And then we're just going to mix this up. Now, we're using a Swiss meringue instead of just a standard meringue. And one of the differences is we're cooking this. Okay, we're going to heat it up to 160 degrees. Why, you ask, are we heating it to 160 degrees? Well, I'm glad you asked. Well, because what we're looking to do is kill any salmonella that would be in the egg whites. Okay, salmonella can make you sick, and in some cases it can kill you. And we don't want to kill anybody, right? That would be rude. So we'll go ahead and get that on there, and then we're just going to place it on our double boiler here. Now the water I have in there, we want it to be not boiling. Okay, you want it to be warm but not boiling. And I'm going to take my candy thermometer that I have right here, and I'm going to stick it right in the egg yolk there, so that way I can see kind of where we're headed. Alright, so let me get this up to 160 degrees and we'll move on to the next step. Oh, and you want to keep whisking this, you don't want to stop. So as soon as I get to the next step, we will, I'll be back. Alright, see you in a second. Alright, so we got our mixture to 160 degrees. Now, the reason why I told you to keep stirring is because you, much like with the filling, you don't want this to cook. You know, we're just warming it up, you know, to get the, you know, to kill that salmonella. We don't necessarily want egg whites in the traditional form of breakfast. So now that we've got that done, while it's still warm, we're going to go ahead and pour it into our mixer. Right now, maybe you don't have a stand mixer, that's fine. You can use a hand mixer too, you know, and it'll serve the same purpose. Yeah, but it's really important that you get it up to 160 degrees. Yeah, like I said, you don't want to make anybody sick doing this. In a standard meringue, you don't bake at all, you know, or you don't heat up at all. You just whip the eggs and go, which is, I mean, okay too, but you just, that extra added risk, you know, is, I don't know if it's worth it. I'd much rather make a Swiss meringue. This is the same meringue we used on the golden chiffon cake. It's like a marshmallow fluff, but it's not. It's amazing. It's my favorite topping of all time. So we're just going to go ahead, get this whisked, and I'm going to whisk it on high until we get good stiff peaks. Alright, we're to stiff peaks. So the last thing we need to add to this, yeah, I'm going to say that's stiff. Add that in there right quick. Give it a good turn, make sure we're all good. Is we're going to add one teaspoon, 4 grams of vanilla to this. Right there. Well, we're going to put it in last. And then we're just going to incorporate that real quick. Won't take 2 seconds. Alright. We are in good shape. Pop that off. That out of there. Give it a good once around, make sure we're all good in there. And I mean, you want stiff, you want it stiff. There's a couple things that can happen on your lemon meringue pie. Like I said, this pie depends on who you talk to, you know, whose recipe you use, so on and so forth. There's a million variations, but a couple common problems are you'll either get moisture on top of your lemon filling as it all completely comes together and cools, or sometimes you'll get some moisture on your meringue, or it'll separate. This is kind of where the trickiness comes into it. All right, so we're gonna get our pie crust. Now, as far as pie crust go, you can make your own if you have your own recipe. If you don't, I have a video just on pie crust, and but I'll leave the ingredients list to that down below, along with the ingredients list for all this. But anyhow, there are some nuances to this. So you're going to take your 9-inch pre-baked pie crust, because we're not putting anything in the oven. You can use a store-bought, just make sure you pre-bake it first, and then we're going to add our pie filling right here. Go ahead and get the plastic wrap off of that, and we'll get this. Let me get another spatula so I don't double dip. There we go, another spatula, problem solved. Get this put in there, and I know this filling is going to set up nice. It's already starting to set up nice, and it's still warm. Some recipes will tell you to use a cold filling. This recipe calls for the filling to still be warm, and I don't remember now why. It has something to do with the way it sets, and it lessens your chances of having problems like with the meringue setting up on top of it and things of that nature. So we'll go ahead and get this spread on here nicely. All right, we got this our filling on there. Next thing I'm going to do real quick is I am going to put my oven on broil, okay? And then that way is what we're going to do is we're going to brown the tops, brown the top of the meringue. Now you don't have to use a broiler to do this with the oven. If you have like a butane torch or something like that, you can use those. But traditionally, we want it. You want the top of the pie to be lightly browned. Now, when using a boiler or broil setting on your oven, you definitely do not want to walk away from it, because it's going to happen quick. It'll go from all to nothing in a matter of seconds. Okay, so one of the things we'll want to do to keep our meringue stationary is we're going to bring this all the way out so it's on the crust. Okay? If you don't, and what that does is it helps it to set on the crust. Yeah, it helps it to set and the crust holds on to it. That way, we don't have to worry about our meringue sliding or shrinking as everything cools. Because remember, the meringue topping's hot, the pie filling's hot. The only thing that's not hot is the crust. And that's okay. So we're going to get this on here just like such. And of course, it's got that nice tall cap to it, which is the way it should be. Okay, we got our meringue on there, and it's touching the crust all the way around. Give it some nice little indents here to give it some tips to brown up. And then we'll put it in the broiler. So like I said, when you put it on the broiler, and if you don't know what the broiler is, it's usually a setting on your stove or on your oven. And what it does is you have a top heating element and a bottom heating element. The bottom heating element is usually what you bake with, but the broil is the top element only. And when you put this in there, you definitely don't want to get it up real close to that element. You want to keep it kind of low. And definitely keep an eye on it, because it's going to, like I said, it'll go from looking like this to being burnt no time flat if you're not careful. All right, well, let me get this in the oven so I can brown the top, and when we get done, we'll take a look at it and talk about what to do next. All right, so we had it in the broiler, and it literally took like 2 minutes. It does not take long. All right, second there, we'll get it up from the heating pad. But there we are. There is our lemon meringue pie. Now let's talk about what to do next before we can eat it. I know everybody, eating it's the most important part, right? And it is. So what we want to do now is we're just going to let this cool. We're going to let it cool down to room temperature. And then it's servable. We're just letting everything get a chance to set and relax, well, not relax, but firm up completely, and have a minute. Now, let's say that you're not going to serve this evening, so to speak. If that's the case, once it's gotten down to room temperature and everything's calm and relaxed and set and ready to be eaten, take a piece of foil and just lightly put it over top of it. You don't want to damage the meringue. The meringue will stiffen and get a nice light crust over it. But you don't want to, if you just slam the aluminum foil on top of it, it will not do well. It won't survive well. You want to keep that look, right? So if you're just going to eat it that evening, let it set for, until it's down to room temperature, maybe a couple hours. And then it'll be set. Or you can put it in the fridge, and it'll be good for a day or two in the fridge before the meringue starts to break down, things like that. So this is one of those pies that you'd almost want to make early in the morning, for like dinner time, things like that. You know, you want to definitely keep it on the. We're going to eat it that day if possible, if not the next day for sure. So let me get this cooled down, and when I come back, we'll trim a slice. All right, see you in a second. Okay, guys, so we let the lemon meringue pie cool. Excuse me. For a few hours. It's actually quite a few hours. I got caught up while I was out and didn't get back in a decent amount of time, so I had Chris throw it in the fridge, and I'll show you some interesting things, but then we're going to try a piece. All right, I want to see how it tastes, because I tasted the filling as I was cleaning up, and I'm here to tell you, it's the bomb. So we'll see how it all tastes together at any rate. All right, get you down here where we can see some things. There we are. All right, so once again, here's our pie, but I don't know if you can see it or not really, but see how it's separated a little bit? It's where it got in the fridge and everything condensed. And I know you probably really can't see it because of the lighting, but it's starting to sweat a little, and a lot of that's the moisture from where I brought it out of the fridge and into it. Like I said, lemon meringue pies are best served when they're room temperature, and you only want to put them in the fridge if you have to, so to speak. And they'll be good for a day or two, but it changes the structure of things. It won't taste any different by any means, but it does some neat little tricks to it. Ooh, that's so soft. Go ahead and get that. I know from reading that by putting the meringue on while the filling is hot and the meringue is hot, it does help it to glue together. Yeah, so that way your meringue won't slide off your pie, so to speak. It'll just, I didn't hear this side snap like that. Let's make sure we're all the way through. Yep. Oh, there is that. Now for the true test, where did I put it? There it is. Get this bad boy out. I can already see the back of the crust broke off. There we go. Oh yeah, that's just gorgeous. Just gorgeous. Get a little bit of meringue off of there so we can see it. But there we are. I think that is absolutely gorgeous. The meringue got a little sloppy, so to speak, but that's all right. It looks good. Like I said, I'm no professional. I'm just a guy who likes to bake. So, now we're down to the test of all tests. It's firm. It looks good. I wish I'd have got back in time. We didn't have to refrigerate it. That's all right, because we're going to give it a shot anyhow. Yeah. That is a lemon meringue to beat all lemon meringues. Oh my. Wow. There is such a balance between the sweetness of the meringue and the tartness of the lemon filling. That is perfect. Just perfect. Sorry, that's just really good. So tart. It's so sweet. Oh. I said earlier that there were some variations you could make to this, and that other people have made to this particular recipe. The recipe's the same. The ingredients are the same, I should say. But like where we put the hot water in, you could also substitute some of that water with more lemon juice. I used fresh squeezed lemon juice. You could use just your regular bottle of lemon juice if you don't have any fresh squeezed lemons. But, I mean, those are some of the differences you could do. You could do a regular meringue instead of a Swiss meringue, but I personally prefer a Swiss meringue. But those are the biggest ones I know. Yeah, but that recipe in and of itself, spot on. I would definitely be keeping this and making this a lot. That's an awesome pie. Give it a try. Let me know what you think. Leave me a comment down below, as a matter of fact, if you do try it. Or if you just like lemon pie and you want to tell me about it. Or if you think lemon pie is horrible. Either way. But I think you should try this recipe. If you like lemon pie, or lemon meringue pie, you'll like this. That's hands down an amazing pie. So, that being said, next week I have no idea what we're going to do for dinner. I have no idea what we're going to do for dessert. At least not at the moment. Now, and I think I'm going to get some canning done, hopefully. So you may see a little bit of that. I still got to get over to the farmer's market, though, and get some fruit. That's just one thing we haven't planted yet here or started to grow. We'll probably start putting that stuff in next spring. Yeah, but we got our vegetables going. That's the important thing. So we'll see. If I can get to the farmer's market, we'll definitely be doing some canning. I need to get, some peaches, some berries, and get those into jars. So, till next week, I love you. I love you very much. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Tell somebody else you love them, and you love them very much. Make them one of these lemon meringue pies. They'll know this is a conversation starter. I'm telling you, they'll be like, oh my gosh, this person obviously loves me. This pie is amazing. So, that being said, next week for dinner, Wednesdays. I love you. Talk to you later. Bye.